So very good morning to all of you. Today we are again back with BTECH 5th semester paper name Human Resource Management and the paper code OEEC 506C. And today we are going to discuss about collective bargaining. Collective bargaining is a part of the chapter number 4 of this paper, that is Human Resource Management, right? So let us start. So what are the topics we are going to cover in this session? That is the meaning and definition of collective bargaining, objective and the importance of collective bargaining, process of collective bargaining, and the effective condition for conducting and collective bargaining. So these are the majorly 4 topics we are going to cover today. So what is the meaning and the definitions of collective bargaining? A process of negotiations between the employers and a group of employees, maybe a union, aimed at reaching agreement that regulate working conditions. Simple concept: employer, employee, employer representation or the representative, and group of employees, that may be a union. They will be sitting together and discussing about different aspects of the working conditions. When both the parties will agree, they will be signing the document that both the parties are agreeing with that particular agreement. So that is called collective agreement. Collectively they are taking agreement, they are getting into an agreement. So that is why it is called collective bargaining. So who are the parties? Employer and the employee, employer and the employee representative. So group of employees or maybe an union. Collective bargaining, we are trying to redefine what is that collective bargaining. Collective bargaining is the term used to describe a situation in which the essential conditions of the employment are determined by the bargaining process undertaken by the representatives of a group of workers on the one hand, and on the other hand, one or more employers. Right? So, same concept: employer, employee, employee representative, employer representative, sitting together discussing major important issues related to working conditions, and a decision, a consensus will be taken, a decision will be taken. Both the parties will be agreeing and both the parties will be signing, and both the parties will be abide by those rules for a stipulated period of time. So that is the concept of collective bargaining. So what are the features? Features, definitely it's a collective process, number one. Okay, it is not an individual process, it's a collective process. Next is a continuous process. It is not the fact that we have taken a decision and that decision will continue years after years. It may not, because it's based on the situation. Okay, based on the situation, based on the different economic parameters, political parameter, technological parameter. So if this factor changes, so there would be changes in the working conditions as well. So then both the parties again have to sit together and discuss, right, and come to a decision. So that's why it's called continuous. Next one is flexible and dynamic process. It is not hard and fast rule that yes, in the collective bargaining process we have taken the decision, so that means if it harming the company, if it is harming the employee, still we need to continue with the decision because we have taken in the collective bargaining process. It is not that. It should be flexible, it should be dynamic in nature. We may have to sit together again to change the decision, right? So that's the thing. So that is called the flexible and the dynamic process. And the next one is that definitely it is a partnership, that it is a part of the workers' participation management process, right? So that is the concept of the features of the collective bargaining process. So most important features are: it is a collective process. Number 2 is a continuous process. Number 3 is a flexible and dynamic process. And number 4 is partnership, right? Now we'll be discussing about the importance of the collective bargaining. So importance of the collective bargaining has been divided into 2 parts: importance to the employees and importance to the employers, right? So first we'll be discussing about importance to the employees, right? So what are the importance point? Like number 1, collective bargaining develop a sense of self-respect and responsibility among the employees, because the employees can see that they can, or their representative can participate in the decision making process, that whatever the decision is being taken by the company regarding the working conditions and other things, and they are also a part of it. I mean, they are taking, so that's why their self-respect is being improved, their responsibility is being increased. Number 2, it increases the strength of the workforce, thereby increasing their bargaining capacity as a group. right? So we are recognizing that you can bargain. It is not that whatever the things, the told by the management you have to accept, you have the bargaining power. Next one, collective bargaining increases the morale and the productivity of the employee. Same method. I mean, if they are feeling responsible, connected, automatically their morale and the motivation would be improved, and the productivity of course would be improved, because the motivated employees are productive employees, right? So next one is the effective collective bargaining machinery strengthen the trade union movement, because collective bargaining is one of the important tool in the hand of the trade union. So if there is a collective bargaining process, so definitely the functioning of the trade union will also be improved. So these are the importance towards the employees. I mean, importance of collective bargaining towards the employees. Now let us check what are the importance towards the employers. Number one, it becomes easier for the management to resolve issues at the bargaining level rather than taking up complaints of the individual worker. Okay, so we are not taking the complaints at the individual level. We are discussing at a group level, right? So that is helpful for the employer as well. Collective bargaining tends to promote a sense of job security among employees, and thereby tends to reduce the cost of labor turnover to the management. I mean, employee turnover, the labor turnover would be reduced, so that is going to be helpful for the organizations. Next one is the collective bargaining opens up the channel of communication between the workers and the management and increases the workers' participation in the decision making. So workers' participation management is an important area. So collective bargaining is a tool for workers' participation. Next one is the collective bargaining plays a very vital role in setting and preventing industrial dispute. If you can remember, we have discussed in our last chapter about the industrial dispute. So in one of the major tool in handling or preventing the industrial dispute is a collective bargaining, because whenever the employees and the employer both sitting together and taking a decision, so there are less chances of conflict, and if there is a less chances of conflict, then definitely the industrial dispute will be less, right? So it is going to help in preventing the industrial disputes, right? So these are the importance of collective bargaining towards the employers. Now we'll be discussing about the types of bargaining. So there are a lot of bargaining. So we'll be discussing mainly four types. Generally the collective bargaining are of four types. What is number one is the distributive bargaining. What is distributive bargaining? Under it, the economic issues like the wages, the salaries, the bonus are discussed. Okay. In distributive bargaining, one party gain and another party lose. There is a win-lose situation. I mean, say for example, we are discussing about the wages and the employees are demanding for a raise in the pay by 10%, and the employers don't want to give more than 5%. But if there is in the bargaining process, ultimately the employer's representative own the bargain, and ultimately the employer have to give 10% increment. So definitely it is a win-lose. I mean, the employer wanted to give 5%, but at the end they have to agree with the employees to give actually 10%. So that means it is a win-lose situation. So financial things, economic things like wages, salary, bonus are being discussed in this kind of bargaining. This is called distributive bargaining. Next one is the integrative bargaining. What is that? This involves negotiation of an issue on which both the parties may gain, or at least neither party loses. Okay, integrative. You can say kind of productivity bargaining also. Integrative, the integrated or integrative bargaining. Like say for example, the employees or the laborers want to raise their salary. Okay, management said that yes, we are ready to raise the salary, but you need to increase the production rate, because the management knows that if the production rate increases, because there is a demand in the market, so their sales would be increased. So per unit profit would be increased, and automatically the overall profitability will be increased. So there is no harm in giving the extra salary. So employees are also getting, they are getting extra salary. Companies are also getting, because they are getting more production and more sales, more profit, right? That is called integrative bargaining. Next one, attitudinal restructuring. This involves shaping and reshaping of some attitudes like trust or distrust, friendliness or the hostility between the labor and the management. Maybe sometime there is a hostility between the management and the union and the employees representative and the employee. There is a culture, or there is an environment of mistrust kind of that is going on. Nobody is trusting each other. So that is ultimately hampering the overall production process. overall productivity of the organization. So that is the reason that both the parties are sitting together to shape and the reshape of this kind of characteristics. So that is why it is called attitudinal restructuring, right? So next one is the intra-organizational bargaining. So what is that? It generally aims at resolving internal conflict. Okay, this type of process is to achieve the consensus within the worker and the management. Even within the union, there may be differences between the groups. So if so, there must not be any intra-organizational conflict, disparity in the opinion. So that's why all the parties should sit together and resolve it. So that is called intra-organizational bargaining. So we have understood 4 different kinds of bargaining. What are those? Number 1, distributive bargaining. Number 2, integrative bargaining. Number 3, attitudinal restructuring. And number 4, intra-organizational bargaining. Now we'll be discussing about conditions for or the prerequisite for collective bargaining. Okay, number 1, very important, is the recognition of the bargaining agent. Okay, bargaining agent. That is a union actually, right? So we have to recognize them. Next one, deciding the level of bargaining. That means whether the dealing are confined to the enterprise level, industry level, or the national level. So that we'll be discussing at the beginning. So that is what the level of the bargaining. We'll be deciding beforehand. I mean, before entering into the debate or entering into the bargaining process. Next one is the determining the scope and the coverage or the bargaining. What are the things we are going to discuss in this meeting that should be decided, pre-decided? So that is going to helpful. Otherwise, again, that will be creating a lot of issues in the meeting or the bargaining process. Okay. So next one is the some other points like the trade union recognition should be there, that we have already discussed. Observance of the agreement. If there is an agreement, earlier agreement, we both the parties should agree to that. I mean, observe that all the rules, regulation, policies. Support of the labor administration authorities, we need that. And there should be good faith. Otherwise, if we have a culture and the environment of the mistrust or the distrust, and there is no faith, then what will happen? That discussion will not be effective. So there must be a good faith that yes, the discussion can get into a positive note and both the parties are having some good intentions. Okay. Next one is the proper internal communication must be there, that when, where, how, who are the person would be involved in the meeting. Everything should be discussed and everything should be transparent in nature, right? So that's all for about this collective bargaining. So the collective bargaining is a part of your chapter number 4 of your human resource management paper. So that all the pertinent areas as per your syllabus we have discussed. So if you have any question, please feel free to ask me in the forum that has been given to you. We'll be again coming back soon with the more topics on this particular chapter. There are 2 more topics left, so we are going to discuss. We are going to take those 2 sessions very shortly. Till then, go through the earlier sessions, and if you have any question, please feel free to ask me.